a blind guy and two dwarfs and a fight breaks. So I was like, a one-legged dwarf and a fight breaks. Like, wow. And it's like, and we were playing, it was like down in the warehouse district. We're 14 feet up. We had to carry our shit up ladders. So I'm bouncing down this ladder with my 300-pound 1992 keyboard the whole way, getting punched in the head. It's like, what? How did this happen? Yeah.
All right, here we are, boys. Ledecky, Spitz, how's the going?
Raymond, it's going well.
Going well, Raymond.
We are right in the heart of it, aren't we? We're starting to take a little cold turn again.
It is.
We went from nice to not so nice, but we'll be all right. Sun will come out tomorrow.
There's always going to be a little more winter in February in Iowa.
Right.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
All right, so we're going to get right into it today. Today's guest has been on the cornerstone of Eastern Iowa's music scene since 1992 when he formed his first band, High and Lonesome. Since then, he's fronted several successful projects, toured with members of Todd Snider's Nervous Wreck, and produced records for artists like The Pines and Brother Trucker.
I was one of the Nervous Wrecks for that matter.
On any given night, there's a good chance you'll find him on a stage somewhere, which makes us especially lucky to catch him on one of his rare nights he's not making music for his fans. Dave Zollo, welcome.
Thank you so much, guys.
Hey, I feel like we should probably open up with a little full disclosure. That's how we'll open this up. Dave's mom, Sue Zollo, gave me my first job out of graduate school, and she is an absolute saint.
She is indeed. I will back that up. In fact, I just ran into a colleague of hers at a show I was playing in Garrison, Iowa, a town of like 200 people.
Yeah.
And this woman was like, I worked with your mom and I'm a medical librarian. I was like, there's three of you in the country. Like, I'm my mom, you, and who's
Small
the other
world.
one? Yeah.
Well, she polished and polished and polished a not so primetime young Raymond. And she also pushed me out of the nest at the College of Medicine.
I can totally see her doing that.
Right.
She's good that way. I mean, she genuinely cares about people, and that means she's not afraid to make you uncomfortable. I think if she feels like it'll help you.
There was a job, and she goes, a job like this is not going to come around for another 25 years, and you need to jump at this. And I did not have any confidence in myself. And your mom said, listen, if they don't want you, you're still here.
Yeah.
But you're going to get that
Good
job.
for her. And I know, she turned down a job like that. I don't know if she ever told you the story. I don't know if I should even speak out of school like that, but she was offered a job, gosh, it must have been late 80s or early 90s, right after she finished graduate school herself. So she was, I guess that would have been in 87. Yeah, she finished graduate school the year I finished high school, now that I think about it. But she had a grant at NIH, and then she came back and she was offered a job to run new media at the library. Now, that was, at the time, a huge deal. I mean, we didn't even know what that modality was going to look like, you know. But she turned it down. And it was a very, like most things she did professionally, was very measured. She very carefully considered. But so I'm sure she was, somewhere in the back of her mind thinking, Raymond, these jobs don't come around that often.
The other thing that I need to say is your dad is one of my favorite people in the world. Aside from my dad, might be the most brilliant music historian I know. I have robbed your dad of so many hours.
Good for you.
Of just like
because he loved to talk.
Oh man, he is such a knowledge. And
but he is a font of knowledge.
He knew every single regional band, rock and roll band that kind of was on the cusp of making it big. Like Cheap Trick kind of
up until like 1980, his knowledge was pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, small stuff because of jazz, avant-garde. Yeah. I mean, he had wide-ranging tastes, things, and he was just knowledgeable. And he had a memory he has a memory. Yeah, it's not what it used to be, but at 82. But yeah, he was able to fit a lot of arcane,
interesting dude, most interesting dude at the party.
Great guy to talk to too, because he can find a point of common interest with just about anybody.
Yeah, Brad, do you have any disclosures?
Well, man, Dave and I are both
Washington
County guys, right? So we grew up not too far from one another. And I think, David, that I met you through the Hazel Boys.
Yeah, through Dave Hazel, I think.
I feel like...
in fact, I'm certain of it.
Yeah. And so in the early 90s, spent a lot of time in Iowa City watching High and Lonesome, seeing shows at the Yacht Club and other places.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of mutual friends, and Dave has been super gracious. A mutual friend of ours that I met through Central College Mark Liebeck, may he rest in peace. Also known as Lude. We've done a memorial ride for him for the past, 13 years now, I think.
A lot of years now.
And David has been super gracious in, you played at the funeral, and then...
that was a tough one, man.
Yeah.
I played a lot of funerals. They're all tough, but that was a real tough one.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so, I've been fortunate to know Dave for a really long time, and the one thing I will say is he has agreed. There's a few songs that I expect out of Dave when he's doing a live performance. One of them's Washington County, just to kind of keep that connection going.
Sure.
But the other one's the cover of Dead Flowers.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a great planner. You guys know that. Logistics and looking into the future is not my thing.
Me either, Brad.
But,
So don't feel bad.
but Dave has agreed that he will play Dead Flowers at my funeral.
In the
event,
the very not likely event that I outlive you, right? Yeah, or anybody else in this room for that matter.
If that happens, it's Dead Flowers by Dave Zollo, and it's full-size Snickers. Okay,
Right.
At the visitation and the funeral.
You've planned very few things.
Yeah.
But
This I'm
but
locked
your
out.
own funeral, yeah.
Very good.
John, do you have any disclosures for
You
Dave?
know, I guess my disclosure is I'm the kid that was in the Superman suit at the Magic Bus listening to you on
Right
Saturdays
on.
back
Yeah,
in the day.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
Those were some wild times too. Good Lord.
I looked through your bio a little bit. I didn't realize how young you were playing, but you had some musical influences in your life.
Yeah, it's interesting. So my grandfather, it's a great story, just as an historian and as a lover of history. And I did a lot of academic work in jazz history at the university through the American Studies department. My mother's father's story is a great story. It's a great story because of certain kind of serendipitous years and things that happened. He left home in 1924. To play jazz, ran away from home. He was 18, so that was the year of Rhapsody in Blue. That was the year of Fletcher Henderson recording with Louis Armstrong recording with Fletcher Henderson, and it was the Wolverines with Bix Beiderbecke and Frankie Trumbauer.
It was the rock and roll of
so
the time,
that was,
man.
24 was a big year for the form, in terms of its in the American consciousness. But my grandfather came up on vaudeville with Jack Teagarden and Pee Wee Russell and all these great early, jazz musicians. They were all in love with this music. But my grandfather got a trio gig in Cape Cod. So he was from Everett, Massachusetts, which is outside of Boston. And he was, Prohibition ended this summer. So this was summer 33.
Yeah.
So Prohibition ends. He's got a trio gig in Cape Cod, which was kind of like his spiritual home. He loved Cape Cod. This is before it was completely developed. And
Right.
so he sent a train ticket to Pee Wee Russell, who had been playing with Bix Beiderbecke, who had died in 31. And he was looking for a third, and he got a call from some gangster that he had been working for. And the gangster said, "Hey, we've got this kid. He just finished high school. He's a prodigy. You're going to give him a job." And I'm sure my grandpa was like, "Oh, fuck." Right. Prohibition's over on the one hand. On the other hand, I could kill me if I ever see him again. So anyway, so the kid was from Providence, Rhode Island. So my grandpa sent him a train ticket, and it turned out to be Bobby Hackett.
Wow.
Who at the time was a guitar player, guitarist at a time when guitar was a rhythm instrument. It was like part of the rhythm section. It wasn't amplified.
Right.
So after a few shows, it was a summer-long engagement. And after the gig one night, my grandpa took the money from the gig and bought a cornet and gave it to Bobby Hackett and told Pee Wee, "Now you teach him to play like Bix." And Bobby Hackett became pretty quickly the next kind of great voice in that music. And I think their relationship for the rest of their lives was very much one of big brother, little brother.
Mentor,
Awesome. I mean, I don't know if they were both pretty, my grandpa was a heavy musician, great musician. Bobby Hackett certainly was too. I mean, if you can just pick up a new instrument and, blow your ass off. But there's some interesting books. There's a book by Whitney Balliet that's about that era and those guys. And so, but my grandfather died when I was 8, and I had been playing the piano from the age of 4, but I mean, he wasn't an influence in the sense that I got to see him play.
Right.
This is, obviously I tell my son who's 22 about what it was like growing up when we grew up.
Right.
And it's hard for him to even conceive of that. Like we didn't have a TV till I was, I don't know, like 11 or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different world. When I did my honors thesis, which was a biography of my grandfather, I had to go track down this source information. I had to go to the Broadcast Museum in Chicago and all these places to try to get recordings from NBC and all. Because my grandfather led the orchestra at the Stork Club, which was kind of his most high-profile gig. But that was from off and on from 35 to 53. So that was a lot of years of his career. But, he scuffled in many of the same ways I scuffle. If I would have known the many ways that my career would have mirrored his, I probably would have sold insurance. But here I am.
So when you were 4 years old, when you were playing piano, was it just like plunking around on it, or did you have formal lessons?
I had formal lessons, but I took to it pretty quickly, I think. Just in that, some kids can kind of make sound out of the instrument before they really know what the instrument is. I took lessons at a place called the Music Shop, which is where Giovanni's, I think. I'm pretty sure it was the same building where Giovanni's then went. Oh. Yeah. And it was like a hippie-run music store called the Music Shop. A guy named Dan Maggerell, who played with, I think Maggerell played with Dennis McMurrin's band, played saxophone. Okay. He gave lessons there. And then I took piano lessons from a gal named Beth. But then I went a couple years, they closed, and I went, I think the next 3 years without any formal lessons. And then Prusel School had been open for a couple of years. Right. And I know my folks have been trying to get me in. They were full up. And then I think I was 8 when I started taking lessons there.
You've done some benefits for Prusel, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Well, I tell you, Doris Prusel, my teacher, Lori Chrisman, she started there when I was about 11, and my mom were all very instrumental in me continuing, because I would have quit. I was, as self-conscious and neurotic as any other teenager. Yeah. Plus growing up in Wellman, we played a lot of sandlot baseball. It was like you had to fight your way off the damn sandlot just to go take a piano lesson. Break your hand on your brother's head so you could make it to your piano lesson. It's foolish.
Your brother Mark was an athlete?
Yeah, we were, we all played sports, because that's what, there was nothing else to do.
All hands on deck.
Yeah, all hands on deck. Yeah, that's right.
Kickball
exactly.
or anything.
Yeah, so we played a lot of sandlot, baseball, football, especially football, because that allowed my brother to break my bones.
Wail on you a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when you started playing, initially you're just playing sheet music and you were trying to sound
I never was a good reader, so I'll be honest, or even a good student. Although, I'm sure there was potential there, but I just didn't have. I knew that the life as a classical concert pianist was not the life for me. I knew that I didn't have the skills, and if I had the skills, I didn't want to commit that kind of time. I didn't want to spend 8 hours a day. I had other interests, and I still do. And I think that's important. I mean, my son is a much better. He studied with the same teacher from about the age of 9. I waited a little while before I got him lessons, and it turned out to be a great classical pianist. But
did he resist initially?
Not at all.
No, he was into it.
No, he started on drums and then switched to piano then. But he was really good. But I did tell him. I kind of told him what it would take to have a life because he was really into, he'd look YouTube videos of like the great, impresarios and the great classical pianists. Right. And I'd say, that's required. I basically said you got to have preternatural skill. Yeah. Practice 12 hours a day, and then get lucky.
Right.
So fuck that, Dad.
Your son's got a great name.
Good answer, son.
Your son's got a great name. You guys did a great job with that name.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's a family name. So really? I had an uncle Rocky, who married my grandpa's sister. But the thing that I loved about him is he used to drink. He'd pour himself a glass of bourbon every night and drink it and talk to the picture of my great aunt in Italian. He'd be talking, and then by the end he'd be crying and carrying on. I thought, what a sweet old guy. I mean, for all I know, he was cursing my name. Right. Like me and my brother, you little fucking rugrats coming over swimming in my pool. But and he was in Connecticut. And my dad was the oldest of 10 kids, and his dad was one of 10. Yeah, so there was
big family.
Yeah, big Italian, Irish, Catholic family. So lots of people running around that we were related to.
It's good that your son is interested in music and he appreciates, I think, probably what you do.
Yeah, oh yeah, he does very much so, very much so. He's into his own thing, which is great. He's got his own taste. He's into he started studying Japanese language when he was 9 or 10, and he's into Japanese culture. Yeah. He's really into avant-garde Japanese music, which it's like. I mean, I guess if you said get as far away from what your dad does as you possibly could, that's what it would be. But we're very close, he and I. I mean, very close. So, right. But he's his own guy. But he loves music, and he definitely.
Did he ever put a band together?
Not yet. No. And I don't know if he will.
You know, dudes that it sounds like you like the sound of what was coming out of the piano. That's
Yeah.
what you were intrigued
Yeah.
by. It wasn't a song; it was how it sounded.
But I love sound. I love songs and songcraft too.
Yeah.
That was a big part of what drove me. I mean, my love of books was every bit as big or bigger than my love of music. Even though I started at music earlier, but I started reading around the same time, and I read much more than I practiced the piano. I mean, I read almost in a way that mirrored my later bad habits, which
Really?
I wonder if it wasn't an attempt to kind of
right. That's what you had
to
at the
step
time,
outside of myself. Yeah, I mean, just whatever the case, I've got tattoos of Walt Whitman on my arms.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was a big influence, his poetry, but just writing in general. The writers that I love have been as big of an influence on what I do as anything else, certainly.
You remember the first little melody you put together on a piano?
No. I mean, I literally sat and banged out stuff from the beginning, even if there were, I would improvise a lot before I knew, because studying classical piano, there's not really a sense of what it is to improvise.
Right.
You're not supposed to improvise. They
Right.
call that rubato. Hey, I mean,
Right.
Liszt and Chopin had a final falling out because Chopin was embittered, probably because Liszt was sleeping with his wife, I'm
Right.
guessing. But
Right.
the other reason was because Liszt took all these liberties with Chopin's music on the page, and that was a no-no. You think you could make an exception for that kind of guy, but yeah, so I would improvise all the time, not really knowing what it was, just because I got a lot of pleasure in just, creating melodies. And
So High and Lonesome was kind of like your first notable band, but
my only band,
That
my
was
first
your only
band, period. Or my first band, yeah.
How'd you get together with those guys?
I started doing a couple solo shows around town, thanks to Pat Hazel, who literally heard me playing a song and that I had just written, the first song that I'd ever written, and dragged me out and was like, "We're going to get you a gig."
Yeah.
So I have him to thank or not thank.
Right.
Thank or blame.
Yeah, as the case may be. Yeah, so then I met a mutual friend, introduced me to Rory Fennessy, who had the hots for this mutual friend and wouldn't leave her alone. So she was like, "Hey, occupy this guy's time with something else."
Right.
And then he was playing with Dustin already, so we met. We had a drummer a brief while. We had another drummer, and then Darren Matthews came to town, running on the run from the law or from somebody who wanted to make mincemeat out of you. Yeah, right.
And what easier way to hide than get up on stage every
Right,
Thursday,
yeah,
Friday, and
exactly.
Saturday
Well,
night?
he wasn't going to sacrifice a good opportunity at a popular band that he could just fall into. I mean, he
Right.
wasn't a dummy.
Right.
No, and then that was just kind of, that band was pretty popular out of the gates, pretty successful anyway. And I stopped school, semester short, and to play music.
Did you?
In
You were
itinerant.
catching a lot of gigs. That was like
Yeah.
the early '90s of Iowa
Yeah.
City.
Yep.
Tell me about some of the places you played.
Well, we would play any place that had music, which was a lot more places
Yes.
than do now.
Right.
It was a different world. I kind of consider it the tail end of what I would think of as the live music era, which maybe early 70s, late 60s, early 70s
Yeah.
to the early 90s, and where people would go out any night of the week to hear music if there was something that they wanted to hear.
Right.
And my dad tells stories about coming to Iowa City to attend the Writers' Workshop and going in to see these bands that were playing around town, bands like Long Shot with Al Murphy and Mother Blues, and just being like, fuck, I'm not going back to going back to the East Coast and working in Derry, New Hampshire, or cleaning toilets and all that. He fell in love with the town. He fell in love with the music scene that he found here, and then years later, I kind of had the same experience, with some of those same guys, ironically.
Right. So let's talk about some of the people you grew up with.
Yeah.
You said Pat Hazel,
Joe Price,
Bo Ramsey.
Bo less so because Bo had stopped playing with Mother Blues in the mid '70s, I think. And my dad and he weren't as close.
Yeah.
But all those guys. Who else?
Rick
Sicalo. May he rest in peace. And Steve Hayes. Those guys were just great players that were part of that scene. A bass player and a drummer, respectively. Mary Fickle. I used to play piano, and she would sing at some of these blues. Women in blues concerts. It was a wonderful time. There was a lot of people playing music around the area, and
what were the spots like?
Well, Gabe's
definitely the Mill.
The Mill,
Definitely.
Gabe's, and the Yacht Club. But the Mill
Yacht
was
Club.
a folk venue at that time. I mean, that was where I did my first show.
Okay.
and notoriously got half bagged and took most of my clothes off. They used to have a piano, and I was behind the piano. I thought I was covered. Dempster never let me forget it either. I mean, he claimed till his dying day that he almost lost his liquor license. I was like, there was 4 people in the whole place, Dave or Keith, and then Gabe's, of course. I mean, my parents brought me to Gabe's. I would sit in the beer garden as a baby. So.
Right. But I tell you what, since the mill's been gone, there's like
it's
a tooth missing right in the front of your.
Seriously. Yeah.
So for the people that are listening, we're talking about the Iowa City music scene. We had a very famous venue called the Mill. It wasn't anything super special other than the fact that it just had just layers and layers and layers of awesome music.
And Keith started in '63, and I mean, just
some big names have come through.
Oh my God! Yeah, I mean, country, bluegrass, folk, blues. I mean, anybody that played, outside of the big band format, smaller groups played there. And Gabe's was usually the place, or COD Steam Laundry, which became the Q. When we were growing up. That was a music venue. It used to be one wide open room. And my dad talked about saying, I don't know if Muddy Waters played there, but it was that. It was it was a rock and roll club, and people. My dad talked about going in there on a Tuesday and it'd be full. People, he said he had to go see Longshot and half the man passed out. It's like sounded like High and Lonesome a little bit. No, it's, the music scene was happening, but I think you could say the same about probably communities all over the country.
Yeah.
But I definitely noticed, it seemed to start to, 94, 95, maybe noticed less of that kind of commitment from young people. And it's just as things changed, it's not better or worse. It's not a pejorative necessarily. It's just the way things, unfold culturally. And you don't want to be that guy going, man, back in my day, shit was cool. You kids don't know what you're talking about.
We talk about this every once in a while. So the reason that, we wanted to have you on here is because we talk a lot about our Gen X childhood, but also downtown Iowa City. But I will say this. I have been pleasantly pleased with the kids today. And playing music.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Swinging back.
Yeah.
There's some great young people I've seen doing like roots music, Americana music, like what I do, or rock and roll, or heavy metal, whatever it is. There's got to be places for them to play.
Yeah,
that's the problem. You can't like hold them responsible if there's no venues for them to work at. I'm just saying that as people's choices for entertainment became, more, it's just hard to choose for, so if people are spending this amount of money on their whatever, their internet and their cable TV, and then sometimes they just want to go out anymore. Yeah. Drunk driving laws. There's a million things that go into it, and probably part of it's just me being an old, fart. Scream and get off my lawn. But I think part of it too is also this fact that there's been a change in the culture as in terms of people's ability to do so many different things from an entertainment perspective.
Mm-hmm. I think probably one of the venues that it's as holy as the Mill, but it's the Magic Bus.
Oh yeah.
So can you talk about your experiences with the Magic Bus?
I don't know how many of them I can talk about. even with no FCC regulation. No, great time.
First of all, John, what was the Magic Bus? Can you explain a little bit?
Well, so my perspective of the Magic Bus, of course, was the legendary tailgating setup that they did on Melrose on Saturdays.
The rugby club
team. Yeah. It was parked at a field, and it was like an outdoor concert, music festival, all rolled into one morning type thing.
Yeah, and nobody fucked with the band because these guys, the rugby guys, were just
they were the natural bouncers.
It was right across the street from Kinnick Stadium, and it'd be on
field
Saturdays
that no longer exists.
Right,
yeah.
And it was
like Mardi Gras meets tailgating. Meets
it was
festival.
Insane.
It was just
and it was
wild scene.
Every home game for probably 12 years, 15 years, maybe longer, maybe.
I think it may be even longer.
Yeah,
we interviewed Jeremy.
Yeah. What did Frick say about the length of time?
The length of time, I don't know.
I mean, he's a good friend of mine,
Right.
and that's how I met Jeremy.
And to clarify for people listening, the Magic Bus is an old school bus. Converted into a party bus.
Yeah, a school bus, a black Bumblebee school bus
that has a stage on top.
Yeah,
and they would every Saturday
sort of a stage.
It
was like the kind of thing that rag-by drivers would put their bikes on top of that could double as a platform. Yeah.
And so they had this area sectioned off with snow fins, and they would charge to get in, and then they would donate towards the Iowa Children's Hospital before it was cool to do.
Right,
So,
exactly.
Before it was what it is.
Yeah, before there was one,
And on any given Saturday, when you go to the back of this house, you might see Rick Derringer.
Yeah,
Fish,
literally.
Or
Yeah,
Fishbone.
who
I mean, it
else
was just
did
kind of
that?
crazy.
God, it was crazy. Oh, what's the guy from Canada snorting whiskey and drinking coke? Pat Travers.
Pat Travers,
Yeah,
yeah.
Pat Travers was there.
And every once in a while,
Did Jeremy book him?
Oh, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know how that all fell together, but
Well, I remember being probably about 12 years old, and the Magic Bus was referenced in a Sports Illustrated article about an Iowa football game.
I think I
And-
remember that.
Yeah, and we were, being that age, we're not clued into it.
Yeah.
Our tailgating was still playing Nerf football at our parents' tailgate. Right. So we immediately migrated the next home football game.
Let's go
and
check this
talk
out.
about a mind-blowing
well,
experience.
I mean,
when
that was not PG-13.
No, it was not.
It was triple X.
There was no
behavior
going back
on.
after that.
I bet there wasn't. Yeah.
So what's it like on top of that bus? Is that the biggest crowd you played to?
Oh no! My second night playing with Todd Snider was at Memphis in May. It was probably 10,000 people.
Oh wow, that's just
I
gonna be
had to
crazy.
drink an entire bottle of Maker's Mark. just to
Right.
get
Take
my-
the nerves off.
Just get out there.
I was like, what did I just fall into? Oh my god!
So we'll talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that, but yeah, you had a band of your own, or with a band, High and Lonesome. You produced some music for a while, didn't you? Is that what
Well,
you did after High
Trailer
and Lonesome?
Records.
No,
still?
so I had the label. I started Trailer Records in around '94 as a way to put out my music and Bo's music, and it kind of grew from there. But I had in the next year, '95, they discovered some tumors in my larynx and my vocal cords, pre-malignancies, just a couple years into my career. It was that serious. It was, it looks like metastatic cancer. We're not sure back then. It was, there was a wait from, excising the tissue to getting it back from the pathologist. It might have been a month, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it looked like a 50-50 toss-up, I think my surgeon said at the time. I mean, it was significant. And then after that, they got good margins on the surgery, so there was no chemo or radiation involved. But my voice was not the same, to say the least. It was a new thing. It really rocked my world, both from a position of coming to grips with my own mortality as a 24-year-old.
Right. Awful young dude. You're really into it. I mean, you
Really into it. My career was kind of taking off.
Right.
And then, but, you can't. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
Right? But to meet it head on. So, not long after, maybe 9 months after the surgery, I opened up a show for Todd. He was just starting out with his band to tour behind their second record, Step Right Up. And I had an earlier show with High and Lonesome opening for the Freddie Jones band.
Yeah.
Go down at the IMU. So I hauled my shit. Dan Overson, bless his heart, was booking Gunners. Said, hey,
Oh, Gunners.
bring your stuff up the hill here,
Yeah.
and there's a band you'd love. It's not into it. I didn't want to do a second show. I was worried about singing that much.
Right.
But thanks to him, I met those guys, and then they said, hey, that was fun. Why don't you come to Ames with us tomorrow? And I did. And then they said, come on to Minneapolis. We're playing at First Avenue the night after that. And then I think that was those three, just sitting in. All my time sitting in with Bo and Greg, playing songs I didn't know had well prepared me for
Right.
just jumping up with a guy with a shit ton of songs, and just kind of hanging in,
Free-rolling it.
knowing when not to be heard. It's the real art
Todd,
to
were you playing keyboard or were you playing organ? Or
that. Piano and organ.
yeah.
So those first two records of his were produced by Mike Utley, the piano player from Jimmy Buffett's band,
Oh,
who was part of this Memphis Flyers group of session musicians from the early 70s. Great musician and a
Right.
good guy. In fact, I had an amazing experience. I was in Atlanta. We were staying in our bus, and the Buffett guys were staying in the Omni Hotel, and those guys had just opened up for Jimmy Buffett. I had to come back and I had an obligation in Iowa City to do a show, so I met them back at the hotel, and so I'm sitting in the Omni on this big black grand piano Steinway, so I started playing some boogie-woogie piano, and Buffett's harmonica player is named Fingers Taylor, and they called him Fingers because
love it.
he got his start as a piano player. So he sat down to my left and started playing. So we're playing four-handed. And then Mike Utley, the piano player from Buffett's band, sat down. So the three of
Wow.
us are on this bench playing
Whoa.
six-handed boogie-woogie piano. Played for about 15 minutes, and we stopped, and the whole staff had gathered around and gave us the old standing ovations.
Right.
But for me, it was just like, wow, these guys are fucking great musicians.
That would be a viral video if it
Yeah,
happened.
I was gonna say,
was there was no
happened.
one standing there?
No, it's funny. I brought it up to Todd last time he came through Iowa City, and I was like, "You probably don't remember this." He's like, "Oh, fuck, I remember." He's like, "I was one of the people that had snuck up and was watching you guys." So, yeah, it was just one of those magical moments that happens when you're on the road, and So that was very cool. I don't know if Utley's still alive. I think Fingers Taylor's gone and Buffett's gone, obviously, and now Todd's gone. So that's
Well, that might be a better Omni Hotel story than Hap had.
Right.
yeah. Did he have? I bet he did. A bowl game story.
Did you notice the window is still broken?
Yeah. That's right. That was the Omni.
Handle of booze out of the window.
No, we didn't have to do any of that. We got it was a prop for us anyway.
So you're on Todd's third album?
I played just on Double Wide Blues on that song.
When you went out on the road with him.
So I was on the road with him behind the second record, Step Right Up. Then I played on some demos. Double Wide Blues wound up on the next record, Viva Satellite. And then after a few years, he called me down. I played on his record, Peace Queer. And then I played on his last major label record, which was The Devil You Know.
So that first time you get up on a tour bus, is that pretty cool?
You know, I mean, it was. I mean, it's nice, obviously, way to travel, but the bunks really fucked with my back.
Really?
And so I would wake up. I didn't know what was going on. In fact, the first back spasm I had was at a record store in, I think, Akron, Ohio. It dropped me like somebody had hit me with a sledgehammer. I went down.
I've been
They
there.
had to take me on an ambulance to the
Interesting.
to the emergency room. And it turned out it was a back spasm. But boy, I didn't know. And I had joint issues my whole life.
Right.
Not those ones, but with my with our osteoarthritis. So from a young age, and it actually, I had to stop playing baseball due to problems in both my shoulders. Are super. I got a lot of hypermobility, they call it. So I had torn up my right arm from just throwing a baseball, just like a normal person would throw it.
Right.
But it's also I have slight tears in both rotator cuffs, and it doesn't hurt. So most people, that would be agonizing, like if you lift your arms up. But because I've got so much mobility in my arms, it's not very painful. It keeps me from having to go to an orthopedic surgeon. Whenever they see us, they're like, "Oh, got to get you in here." And I'm like, "Oh no, you don't, fucker. You're not cutting on me."
Right.
And I'm not paying the
Right.
So he gave us a pretty good story. Have you ever been starstruck? Have you ever been anybody you've met? You're like, wow, I can't believe it.
No, I tend to see people as people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody who I was just. I mean, I've probably been just as starstruck from seeing Dan Gable. You know, downtown Iowa City as anything. But I mean, even if people don't see themselves as people, that's still how I see them, and I still expect people to see me that way and to communicate with me that way. I'm not really interested in. That's why I came back to Iowa. I did not like Nashville for that very reason.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this whole thing about a kind of culture of idolatry, it's like being a musician, it should not be like being a rock and roll piano player should not be a thing. It gets you like a free pass in life. It's cool. It's what I do, and I love the work, but it should just be, I wanted to be a part of a community. This is the community where I'm from. And so I feel like I can have, I had raised my family here, had my family here. I mean, that's what I wanted to have, which was a place in a community where I felt at home, which is, I'm from Iowa. Iowans we're particular folks. And so, but as far as being starstruck, not so much,
I was going to ask Dave, 'cause you mentioned like your love of literature was almost like as powerful or maybe more powerful than your love of music. What about, have you met any, because of the Writers Workshop and what Iowa City is, or like have you come face to face with any of your like literary?
I have, and I got to be friends with some of, because I worked at Prairie Lights Bookstore out of high school, because my dad was friends with Jim Harris. In fact, Jim Harris was he used to send me books on hitting, baseball, by Charlie Lau, who was the great White Sox hitting instructor. My dad was a White Sox fan, so I'd get these books in the mail signed Charlie Lau, and I was like, Charlie Lau taking an interest in my career. No, not so much. But because I worked at Prairie Lights, and then I started playing music, I met some folks, and I used to be in a regular poker game with Chris Offutt, Dennis Johnson. And Donald Justice before he passed away, who's a wonderful poet, but more importantly, a beautiful man. So I think if I would have been a writer, I wouldn't have gotten, access in that group. I wouldn't have been playing cards with them. But because I was a musician and I was a younger artist, they could give me advice. They could give me avuncular advice and tell me what not to do. And of course, whatever. I mean, it's cool. But Don Justice was a lovely human being. Like, to me, that was, he would come in to the High and Lonesome house. So that this was right after my surgery. The floor, literally, your foot, you had to physically pull it off the floor to be able to, each step you stuck, right? And it's like,
I feel like I might have been there once.
It was on Church Street,
I've been there a time or two.
But he would come in wearing a fedora and a three-piece suit, and tell stories about beating Nelson Algren out of his salary, his workshop salary. It's like, yeah, more of those. I like that stuff. So yeah, but no, I'm not much a hubristic way to travel through life to think that it's amazing to me somebody's created something wonderful, a great piece of art.
Right.
No.
But you meet your heroes, you can wind up as disappointed as anything,
Right.
disaffected. And I met some of them in Nashville, and that's all right.
But we learned about that when Ray met Daisy Duke.
Yeah, Catherine Bach.
Oh, yeah?
Like I said, she wasn't overly impressed with me either.
No,
so.
well, that's the thing. I mean, that's usually why it happens.
Right.
Because they want to tell you, they want you to know
Right.
how little you impress them.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole thing. That's a culture of the star and the fan is one in which you were supposed to make certain, motions of you're supposed to do the the pantomime of adoration, and they're supposed to be like, in your fucking dreams, fool, would you ever have a chance with my guy?
Right.
I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not how people are.
Do you get a
think
chance
probably is.
when you were on tour? Did you get a chance to have much downtime to see the world, to see the United States?
Oh
and
yeah,
everything?
well, it was kind of a point of some contention, I think, between myself and the band, because I would, like most Iowans I know, I knew people all over the country, people that were from Iowa that had gone elsewhere, they'd gone to graduate school, they'd stayed. So yeah, I would always go to visit a friend or something. I had no problem going off on my own. And I found out later that I think it might have, rubbed folks the wrong way. But I mean, it's not like I was missing shows and
Right.
not, and not doing my job. But I played the state fair in Puyallup, Washington, outside of Seattle. And I remember coming back at 5 a.m. and I kind of gently, and I heard, "Sleep in your car, fucker." And I was like, all right, rental car it is. But yeah, I did. I mean, what the hell? It's like the perks.
Right.
There are some perks to the job, and I mean, seeing the world is, it's one of the good ones. So I took advantage, and I did have a lot of friends around. But I also got to meet and sit in with some great musicians. You know? And more than meeting people who disappointed me in the way they behaved, I met people that were amazing, that were wonderful, who had every right. Lloyd Maines, the great pedal steel player. I sat in with Jerry Jeff Walker's band at the Luckenbach Festival, and it was like
that would have been real cool.
I was out of my mind. I was out of my mind. And then years later, I played with him in Cedar Rapids at CSPS. I think he was playing with Terry Hendricks. Is that her name? Terry Hendricks? Yeah, I think Terry Hendricks. But I was like, no way you'd remember this. But years ago, I played. He's like, I remember you from Luckenbach. I was like, holy shit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
He was a really gracious, kind guy with a ton of credits and a ton of musical ability. So, that's really how most experiences in my life have gone. It's not been a lot of people.
Yeah.
Copping an attitude, some, but those are the ones you remember because they're hurtful, somebody that you want to have a connection with who, can't be bothered. Yeah, Geddy Lee talks about that, about his, their drummer Neil Peter, who was not, open to other people coming into his space or to other people. And he was a misanthrope, by any definition. But the other two guys, they loved it. They recognized that as the thing that gave them this ability to realize all their dreams. But you gotta be understanding of somebody if they're just not.
Right.
If it's difficult for them to wrap their head around. I get it. So.
What are some of the favorite venues away from here around the country or world that you've played?
Used to love to play a place called Shuba's in Chicago, which is still there. And then another place called Martyrs in Chicago, which was opened by a friend of mine who used to be the sound engineer at the Vic Theater. And we met, High and Lonesome met him while opening up for some other bands.
Is that still going, Dave?
What, the
Martyrs?
Oh, Martyrs, yeah, Martyrs is going strong.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how strong they're going, but yeah, they're
going.
still in business, yeah. I played a number of times there with Greg a couple times, but it was an Iowa City guy who booked it. It's in New York. My middle age has been brutal. My cognition is not what it once was. To me though, it's more about the moment. And the magic's in the moment. It can happen anywhere, at any time. So it could be a small town honky tonk in Iowa.
If the energy's there,
if the magic is happening, then it doesn't matter where you are. And like in Europe, some of the venues you'll be in, it'll be like like a cliff face, in front of Lago Maggiore, and you're like, fuck, man.
Right, it's just kind of out.
How did I wind up here? Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, it comes down to the musicians, the people that you're making music with, and if that's happening, then it's all happening, and if it's not, then it doesn't matter where you are.
Right.
You'll be bummed out.
But you definitely vibe off the crowd. What the crowd gives you, you give back.
Yeah, definitely. But I've also come to a place where I've learned that you have to be able to find a space where you can get there either way, regardless.
Right.
It's always going to be a better experience when you're feeding off the energy from an audience and giving it back and getting it back. But I've also had wonderful nights where it was just a few people, and it's also I've had nights where my health was bad, where I was seriously ill.
Right.
My dad used to say, well, "You got the spirit tonight, didn't you?" It's like, I mean, that's what it is. It's digging deep for this thing. That is the only way. Have you read Andrew Lou Goldham's autobiography about growing up managing the Stones? But he talks about this seeing Ray Charles, and he was. Before the show, Ray Charles was dope sick, and he was like rolling around in his own shit and in the muddy. So they dress him up, they put a tux on him, and he goes out and just levels the crowd, kills it. But then comes backstage, strips off his tux, and he's rolling around screaming and crying and shitting his pants again. So it's amazing what you can find inside of yourself, not just in music, anything.
Right.
When you need to dig deep, but took me until much later in my life to find that place where I could say, hey, I'm going to enjoy doing this because it's worth doing, for its own sake.
Sure.
That doing art, if I'm going to get paid to do play songs that I've written, I should always try to give it 110%.
Right. Yeah.
How many gigs a year do you do?
It's just
roughly?
This nowadays 100 to 120 maybe,
Yeah.
but it used to be quite a bit more than that. It's just you can only do as much as you can do.
Yeah.
So we asked this of all of our guests. You are definitely a Gen Xer. I think you're right around
69 is my birth year. Woodstock. I was born the Saturday of Woodstock. My dad will tell you.
Oh wow.
A number of his siblings were there, and he was not one of the attendees.
Right.
Okay.
Not that he's holding that against you or anything.
No.
He was in the neighborhood.
This is 1969. I was induced a month early, so the doctor could go on vacation to the Cape. I'm off to the Cape with his pipe and his tweed jacket, and my mom's like, "What? I'm not due for another month." Whoa, she's out. Next thing you know, here I come. Yeah.
Well, we asked this question of all of our guests, and you can use Iowa City or you can use anywhere you've played. What constitutes a dive bar for you?
That's a really good question. Well, I mean, there's the notion of what a dive bar is. But, I mean, obviously, a dive bar is not going to be a place where we go get held up at knife point, right? And robbed. It's a place where it might be, a little down at the heels, a little funky, but it's our spot,
Right.
So, I mean, the first place that High and Lonesome played regularly was a place called The Cloud in Des Moines, Bob's Blue Cloud. In fact, I'll never forget, I met my wife, and as I was telling you guys off air, her dad was in the FBI, and I was talking about The Cloud, and he's like, "I know The Cloud," and I was like, "Excuse me?" And he was like, "Yeah, I know it well." I was like, "Oh my God." But he used to go stake out a place across the street. It was in a really rough neighborhood in Des Moines, Forest and Harding, which is now MLK and Forest. But it was such a cool place, and we played there. But I mean, there was like four different kinds of people that hung out there: pimps, prostitutes, pensioners who were drinking their check up for 1 week, and then musicians, because they had this Sunday night blues jam. So you'd have this weird, and bikers.
Yeah.
And so, but you'd have
sounds like our kind
all
of place.
kinds of shit
Well, I think
jumping
he's talking
off.
about motorcycles.
Yeah, motorcycles.
Yeah, but still, it sounds like our kind of place.
Engeldinger had a knife held to his throat one time. And
Okay.
we were constantly being asked to trade our instruments for favors or drugs or whatever. It's a miracle nobody took anybody up on it. That shows how scared we were. I mean, and I remembered one of the guys in the band, Darren, saying, Buddy Miles plays at the Blues Jam here. And I was like, what in the fuck has Buddy Miles got to do in Des Moines in this down at the heels shithole? He's like, oh, his crack dealer lives upstairs. I was like, oh, well, of course he does. What else? What other reason?
How convenient.
I probably shouldn't say that on the air, actually. Somebody probably still alive come back and kill me for that. But I still see the owner of that place, wonderful lady named Michelle. She'll come out and show up at a venue when I'm playing, and we'll catch up. Lovely human being. And we played there a couple times a month for a couple years. The first 2 years we were together, maybe.
Yeah.
And we could really try out, some of the things that the band became. They made the band what it was, for better or worse, probably.
Right.
Worse as much as better. So I don't know. I don't know if I have that answer. I mean, if I did,
you did. I mean, so we interviewed Ben Mumme, Deadwood.
Oh yeah, well he knows. He grew up around him, in him, right? He owns a cool place now.
Awesome.
Although I don't know if the Deadwood is what I would consider a dive bar. It's almost too cool to be a dive bar.
We were just talking about that.
It's on the edge.
It's on the edge, right? Mom's a dive bar.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys remember Mom's growing up, but
Right.
Vaguely,
I
yes.
played rugby, so
so it was a rough and tumble joint.
The place we always argue about is Club 76 a dive bar?
Yeah, I would say no, just because it's an American Legion post. Although you can get what you get at a dive bar there,
Yes.
you can get
Yes,
all the
you
trouble
can.
you want there. I mean, but like to me, the Foxhead's a good example. I don't consider the Foxhead a dive bar.
You do not.
I do not, because the clientele, it's a writer's workshop bar, in my estimation. I'm sure they'd tell you, well, fuck you, Dave Zollo. What do you know about it?
So in your mind, like, you need to be a little bit unsafe in a dive?
Not
That's part of
necessarily
it?
unsafe, but I mean, I don't know. Like I got to feel like somebody there's not cosplaying something. Like I mean, I want to feel like that the local color is colorful. It's not. It's not. They're not slumming for the weekend. That's probably a bad word to use. But
So
I mean.
our last pod was we got into the Foxhead for the first time after trying for like 15
What?
times. No, because every time we would go,
Well,
there,
it only seats 40 people.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's
No,
like
not
every
that we
time
weren't
opened the
allowed.
door,
It was that it wasn't
locked.
open.
Oh, they've been closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then we got in there, and I got to tell you, we felt like it was every bit
The dive bar. Well, I can see that. Great, the jukebox is great.
Yes.
The
beer tap is ancient.
The beer tap is ancient. The pool table is in chalkboard, or what you would expect. I haven't been in there for a while because I don't drink like I used to. But, George's to me is a dive.
Yeah.
But so it's a lot of it comes down to how you were raised and like where you grew up around, what did you grow up around.
Right. So you go down to Wellman, you go down to those places down on the river.
Oh yeah,
There's
there's nothing but dives in places.
Right. Anytime you pull a Long John boat up off the river and
yeah.
go in and have a beer, that's a dive bar.
Wellman. I mean, Wellman was rough town too, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. You better know what you better know what you're getting in for when you go down to a place like that. But
our talk with Jeremy and our talk with Ben were both pretty enlightening.
Cool.
Both of them were great guests.
Well, they know, and both of those guys know way more about bars than I do. I know about playing music at bars more than they do, maybe, but they know more about bars than I do because they've both grown up in them, around them, and run them, and
Well, Ben said something that changed, I think, kind of the way we thought
I'm
about
curious.
it.
What did he say?
Ben said, he goes, I think Cheers was a good dive bar.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all about the attitude, right? And
Right.
it's about the, what does it give you? What is it providing you? Right? I mean, when we talk about a dive bar, we're talking about a place where we feel comfort,
Right.
where
Yeah.
we feel
That's what he
comfortable.
said, yeah.
Just like anything that we love, music or a book, something that speaks to us. It's a comfortable thing that we can return to, right? That is going to give us this certain feeling. So, in that sense, it's not for me to tell you what a dive bar is, or you to tell me what my dive bar is. It's for us to decide what that place is that has just enough of that danger, that element of real humanity to it that you're not going to get going into Brothers or wherever wherever the But at the same time,
So you mentioned Bob's Blue Cloud.
Bob's Blue Cloud,
Right.
right.
And so I thought you were going to spit out Bob's Country Bunker when you
No,
started that. So
although I might as well. The fact they didn't have chicken wire, made it a liability to all.
So it's inspired me to ask you two kind of Blues Brothers
Yeah.
type questions. I'm sure you're way past this in your career, but early in your
Oh,
career,
no.
did you and your band ever find yourself in a venue where the vibe from the crowd was they wanted something different than what you
hell
were?
yes.
And did you have to pivot and play country and western, or what did?
I mean, I consider that music to be a part of what I do anyway, and it always was. But Yeah, I mean, I remember playing in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and having to literally fight my way out of the bar. It's like the band, The Last Waltz, where he's like, there was a blind guy and two dwarfs and a fight breaks. So I was like, a one-legged dwarf and a fight break. It's like, wow. Yeah, no, and it's like, and we were playing, it was like down in the warehouse district. We're 14 feet up. We had to carry our shit up ladders. So I'm bouncing down this ladder with my 300-pound 1992 keyboard the whole way, getting punched in the head. It's like, what? How did this fucking happen? Yeah, plenty of those experiences, and plenty of times being told that we weren't the right band. Play some Metallica.
Got any friends?
Okay, yeah, that's what I ordered. Yeah,
I mean, fortunately, I can talk Metallica with the best of them because I grew up listening to it and bought all those records and saw them play when Cliff Burton was still alive.
Would you riff a little bit of it just to settle the crowd down and then go back to what you wanted?
No, I'm a piano player. I'd say
your own thing.
I'm like, look at what I'm doing here. You think you're gonna get fucking
just let the bottles hit the chicken wire and
Enter
keep playing.
Sandman, right? Or here's your Freebirds. That was my big one.
Perfect. Well, then the other question you maybe answered, this might have happened in New Mexico, but were there nights where the band outdrank the proceeds and had to pass them out?
That was usually the agreement that you make sure that's solid before you go in, which is the booze is free. Yeah. But I mean, early on, we weren't. You're not getting paid a lot anyway. It's,
pretty easy to do.
Yeah, but I would say we were probably lucky to make it out in one piece. Although, some would say we didn't make it out in one piece. But it was fun. I heard I had a good time. That's what I did.
So we're going to take a little break here in the middle of our podcast, and John has a game for us here. What are we doing here, John?
So it's been a while since we've done shots or bar food or something live on air. So we have some burnt peanuts and old school dive bar candy on the table. I was inspired when I set up the studio tonight to do a couple infused liquors with a burnt candied peanut. Mm-hmm. So these have been infusing for a couple hours. So we have two different shots. Oh. They're two different liquors, distinctly different liqueurs that have been fusing with this candied peanut. So we'll do the shot, and I guess you can rate your reaction to it and try to guess what the liquor that forms the base of it is.
Just visually.
Right.
This is giving me, we talked about it on the last one, that we found out about the fox blood.
Yeah, I'm going to take a quick picture of that because yours is perfect. They don't look great because all of the red coating has come off the peanut.
I've been in enough battles and wrestling meets and stuff like this. If you saw this, on the side of a mat, you'd be scared. It looks like it could be a bloody nose with a couple of.
Well, it looks like something could be in a test tube in a chemistry class. But
okay,
so if you want to down the hatch and then
down the hatch, you guys.
Let's do it. Cheers, boys.
I know what that is exactly.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
This is a man with real skills.
Is that Malort?
That's fucking Malort.
It's Malort.
Everybody got it.
Right.
What'd you think?
Well,
I mean,
what was it? What's
Malort.
Never heard of it.
Okay, so Malort is a Scandinavian.
I'm Italian. I guess that explains that.
So Malort is a Scandinavian.
I've never eaten lutefisk
liqueur. That was made out of wormwood.
Okay. Oh, so it's like, what do you call it?
Absinthe,
yeah.
And so what happened was...
Which, it turns out, it can make you cause brain damage. But
the real absinthe, So Malort, it was made by a person in Chicago, a first-generation immigrant, and I think it's Swedish. And so he basically, when Prohibition came around, he said, "This is not alcohol. This is medicinal. This is how you cure
that's how a lot
stomach
of people
worms."
got around that stuff. Yeah.
And so the board, the
medical board,
purity board,
pharmacy board, whatever it was,
they tried Malort, and it tastes
so much like
bad that they're like, this is definitely for stomach worms.
That's pretty amazing.
In a proper Chicago dive bar,
that's going to be there.
That's available.
I believe it.
What did you think of it infused with the candied peanut?
I thought it was good. I didn't think it helped. I thought it complemented it pretty well.
I thought it was decent.
It helped it.
What does Malort taste like? Just like hard
Listerine is what I think. It tastes like.
It's got a little bit of a sweat sock finish to it.
It's not bad. They had an ad campaign.
Some people say it tastes like Band-Aid smell.
Right, kind of like Band-Aids, like used Band-Aids.
I not go back to drinking that.
Right.
If I'm going to take a shooter or something, that's probably going to be low on my list. But hey.
Yeah. They had an ad campaign Malort did as like,
Tonight's the night you fight your dad.
Tonight's the night you fight your dad.
Your pants aren't going to shit themselves.
I mean, it was all like that, and it was...
Yeah. When you want to unfriend someone in person.
Right?
Yes.
So what do we got here?
All right, this is a second
Oh,
liquor.
wow.
Same.
Same concept, same infusion,
Same
but
first,
it's a
same
different
as the
liquor,
first.
so you can see what you think of this and if you can peg it.
Oh, I already got it.
Yeah.
And you got
That's more your speed, Ray.
This is some of that delicious prairie fire from
Yeah.
From Angie?
from Angie, yeah, Cumming, Iowa.
Coming in Iowa.
Thank you, Angie. Yeah,
Yep, so
That
prayer.
was Tom Harkin.
yeah, the founder of the American with Disability Act. That's where it
Yes,
started,
yes,
Cumming,
she
Iowa.
did.
Brad, you got anything else?
I don't think I do. I mean, this has been great, Dave. Thank you so
Oh,
much for
no,
taking the time.
My pleasure. Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
John, you got anything else?
No, but are you doing a speed round for us tonight?
I'll
or
do
not?
speed round, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you got your questions.
All right, here we go. It's time for the speed round. The Winter Olympics are here to occupy our attention every 4 years, and we're smack dab in the middle of the sequenced melee. So tonight's speed round is called Ice, Ice, Maybe. Here's how the game works. 4 of the following Olympic sports or exhibition events were real or seriously considered for the Winter Games. The 5th sport was something that I dreamt up entirely in my own mushy snowballed melon. I'll give you all 5 sports, and your job is to try to figure out which sport I made up. So I'll give you 5 sports, and then we'll double back, and you tell me what your
Prediction is.
prediction is for the one that I made up.
The fictitious sport of Ray's imagination.
Live pigeon shooting. Yes, live pigeon shooting was an event in the Paris Olympics. This marked the only time in Olympic history where animals were intentionally killed during competition. The competitors shot live birds that were released in front of them. Over 300 pigeons died during the Olympics. Ski ballet. This freestyle ski mixed with interpretive dance looked like figure skating without ice. Ice track cycling. Fixed gears bicycles where spiked tires raced around steeply embanked ice tracks in refrigerated arenas. Speeds would reach up to 45 miles an hour. Competitive painting. Competitive painting was an official Olympic sport, 1912 to 1948, and was part of the pentathlon muses that awarded medalists for
No
sports
way.
inspired. Pistol duels. Athletes shot wax bullets at each other while wearing protective armor. Technically not an Olympic sport. It was.
Seriously considered?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
They didn't all make it to the actual games and get medals. They were...
Yeah, so they were either an exhibition sport or they were a real sport that happened that you got a medal for.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start with Brad. Live pigeon shooting. Was that real or did I make it up?
At first, I was for sure no, but there's other ones that I think could be. So I'm a yes on that. Proposed.
Dave?
Yes.
I'll go yes as well.
All right, live pigeon shooting was real. It was in the 1900 Paris Olympics.
There you go.
Ski ballet, the freestyle ski mixed interpretive dance and figure skating, but on skis. Ski ballet, is that true?
I think so.
Yeah, I've seen Hot Dog the movie.
All right.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right.
I remember it.
Yeah, that was true. 1988
There you
and
go.
1992
Uh-huh.
Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Ice track cycling, where the fixed gears bicycles had spiked tires that ran around steeply banked ice tracks. John?
I'll say true just because I think you got a couple other bogus
Yeah,
ones down the line,
yeah.
so I'll go true with that.
Brad?
Yeah, I thought you were making it up, but was this... I'm going to say this was proposed but not ever done.
Dave?
I'm going to, it sounds so believable. I'm wanting to say that it wasn't true, but I think the painting thing is too absurd. So I'm going to say that this was a game.
All right. This is the one I made up.
Oh,
in my
Oh.
Good
So that
job.
means, yes, competitive painting was an Olympic sport that
That's
you got
absurd.
awards for, and also making up music. And so, it
Really?
was, yeah, so
So speed composition?
so
like-
it was actually,
Bob
so what
Ross.
ended up doing it in
What
was
years?
1912 to
So this is really
1948.
this is pre. Oh no, that's postmodernism. Like, what happens when the abstract expressionist comes out and like just starts
Right.
slapping shit up there?
right.
No, it's good. It sucks.
Right. This went through the Germany Olympics. So it was,
There you go. Yeah.
and then also dueling pistols were real.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So in
All right.
1906, yeah,
People
it was
like their
it was an
guns.
exhibition, unofficial
Okay.
interclass exhibition
With wax
Bullets, yeah.
projectiles.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening this week. Beck, thank you for this wonderful new top to our pod studio. Man, this is outstanding. I feel like we're the real deal here.
Spilled a little bourbon on it.
I already
Gotta break it in.
Breaking it in.
Dave put some bourbon on it, and I baptized it in
Needs
the
to be
champagne
seasoned.
and beers, so it's
Yeah.
good. It's hearty. It's holding up.
Becoming a dive bar studio.
All right, everybody. Hey, listen, if you want to communicate with us or have ideas, you can reach us at deepdivepod2025@gmail, or you can join the Facebook group and interact with us there at Deep Dive Pod. That's in the group section of Facebook. Until next time, bye-bye.